Hello, first graders. My name's Amy.
And my name's Susan, and we work for the City of Fishers Parks Department. And today we've partnered with your school to bring you a very special program.
We're going to learn about nature.
And you're first graders, so we call this program
Nature First.
This is the forest. It's one of the 3 habitats we've been talking about today. Remember what a habitat is? It has to have the elements, all the elements that an animal needs to survive. It needs a place for food, water, shelter, and space.
There are a lot of trees here in the forest habitat, and trees provide something very important for the animals that live here. It provides the food and the shelter. Let's learn more about some of the trees here at Ritchie Woods in the forest and what they give to the animals that live here. I want to talk to you about this green seed pod. It's a honey locust seed pod, and it grows on this tree, a honey locust tree. I know it's a honey locust tree because look at these sharp spikes that are on the outside of this tree. You see, this seed pod grows at the top of the tree, up by the leaves. And it's full of a really great sweet sap that animals love. In fact, that word sap means the sugary stuff that plants make. Inside this seed pod is the sugary substance that raccoons just love to eat. So the tree grew these spikes to adapt, to keep those raccoons from going up the tree and eating all the seed pods. Instead, the raccoon has to wait until the seed pod turns brown and falls down to the ground, and then they can eat it. It doesn't taste quite as good, but it's still a pretty good treat for them. Raccoons love to eat honey locust seed pods. But let's just think about what might happen if a raccoon didn't get to this seed pod and it ended up on the soil, underneath the soil. What do you think might happen? I bet you're right. It might germinate into another honey locust tree. So this honey locust tree has grown these spikes to protect itself and its seed pod. Let's find another interesting tree here at Ritchie Woods.
This is a black walnut. Well, actually, it doesn't look very black. It looks pretty green. This is what it looks like when it falls off the tree and it's fresh. And, oh, I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. After it sits on the ground for a while, it starts to decay and turns brown like this. In fact, Native Americans and the early pioneers, the first people to live here, would use something like the black walnut to dye or stain their clothing or even cover their gray hair, but don't eat the outside part.
Eventually, this brown outside, we call it a husk. It rots and falls away, leaving the walnut inside. Now, what animal do you think might like to eat a delicious walnut? Were you thinking squirrel? You're right. The squirrel would use its sharp teeth to eat right through this and get the delicious nut that's inside. You know, squirrels have to make a choice when winter approaches. They have to either migrate, hibernate, or stay and adapt. A squirrel is going to stay and adapt to the Indiana cold weather. They're going to gather lots of nuts and berries, and they're going to eat and get really fat. And that layer of fat is going to keep them warm in the winter, just like we would put on extra clothes when it got cold outside. Now, a squirrel is going to take this and put it in piles around the forest floor, just like you probably have a place in your house where you keep your extra food, your pantry or your cupboard. A squirrel's going to gather this up, bury it, and then in the middle of winter, when he's hungry, he'll have a place to go get some food.
Squirrels do something else to get ready for winter. They collect dried leaves and take them to the top of a tree. They use those leaves to build a nest that will keep them warm throughout the winter, just like how we have homes that give us shelter and keep us warm. We call a squirrel nest a dray.
You know, one of my favorite things to do here in the forest is just to be quiet and listen to all the sounds that I can hear around me. Sometime when you're out hiking in the forest, take a minute to just stop and listen. You might see a lot of squirrels, but you might also be able to hear them, chewing on a nut or gathering up some leaves to take up to their nest. What do you think might happen if a squirrel buried this nut and then forgot that it was there? Well, this is the beginning of the life cycle of a black walnut tree. This tree behind me here, we call it Paul, tallest of them all. And it's a black walnut tree. And at one time, Paul started out just like this, a walnut that got buried in some really good soil. We've talked about the honey locust seed pod that started the honey locust tree. And we've talked about a walnut that starts the black walnut tree. Let's find a tree that has something that you might really like.
Does anybody know what kind of a leaf this is? It is a sugar maple leaf. And this is a sugar maple tree. We have lots of these kind of trees at Ritchie Woods, and you can tell that it's a sugar maple by its smooth gray bark. And inside this tree is an ingredient that we use to make that sugary sweet stuff we put on top of our pancakes and our waffles. And that ingredient is spelled S-A-P, sap. You remember, we've talked about sap. Well, there's sap inside this tree. And in winter, people may take some of that ingredient inside this tree and turn it into something really nice and sweet, and we call that maple syrup. And that's a story I'll share with you on another day.
So let's review what we've learned today. A habitat has to provide the food that an animal needs to live there. Today we talked about the honey locust tree, which has a long sticky seed pod that's a special treat for the animals in the forest. But the tree's thorny spikes help keep those seeds safe until they fall to the ground and fall.
Walnuts are a favorite of squirrels, and the hard outer shell protects the soft, delicious nut inside. If a squirrel should bury it and forget about it, this would be the beginning of the life cycle of the mighty walnut tree.
There are plants and animals everywhere here at Ritchie Woods. And there's probably plants and animals right outside your door. Take a walk today and see if you can find a plant that an animal might eat for food. And when you do, think about it and then talk about it with your family, your teacher, or your class. And better yet, you could even come out to Ritchie Woods and take a look around here. But remember, good citizens leave everything that they find here at Ritchie Woods. There are a lot of squirrels here at the forest at Ritchie Woods. You might want to come out here and count them. They're quite abundant. Abundant means that there's a lot of them. See you next time.